Hello and welcome to a dive into traditional media, the backbone of advertising. My name is Desiree Johnson and I'm the training coordinator for the Small Business Development Center. We're going to give it just a few minutes as people get logged in and then we will get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for signing on today. It's just a couple of minutes past the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, my name is Desiree Johnson, and I'm the training coordinator for the Small Business Development Center. I want to start off by saying that this live webinar session is brought to you today by the Small Business Development Center, and we're able to offer this class today at no cost to our attendees due to the funding from the CARES Act. So we're going to focus a little bit on marketing today and how businesses are going to utilize their marketing skills to help push their business through this COVID disaster. So before we get started, I want to take a minute and run through some Zoom tips that will help make this session run a little more smoothly. It's conducted over Zoom's webinar function, so your video will be turned off as you enter the session and your audio is automatically muted. Additionally, I recommend you use Speaker View. You can find this in the upper right-hand corner. This will allow you for the best experience, and our speakers today have shared the slides with you on the screen. I will also be providing a digital copy of the slide deck in the comments section here in just a few minutes. Please utilize the Q&A box on the bottom center of your screen to ask any questions. We'll be addressing those questions at the end of the presentation. The session will also be recorded so you can view it later on demand. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speakers, who is Andy Marquis, the Media Director, and Chris Forbes, the Creative Director. I think they're going to give a brief introduction of themselves as well. I also just want to point out that this is part 2 of the 3-part series that they're offering for us. We hosted part 1 mid-August, so you can go and look at that online if you missed that. So just to introduce Media Advantage, they are a full-service advertising agency headquartered in San Angelo, Texas. They've been in business for almost 20 years. They're a trusted and client, trusted name brand, and their clients are nationwide. And the staff has various expertise in different areas of marketing. So Chris and Andy, thank you for joining us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Great, Desiree. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Andy Marquis. I'm the Media Director here at Media Advantage.
And I'm Chris Forbes, Creative Director at Media Advantage.
And we'll go ahead and just dive right into the dive into traditional media, the backbone of advertising. I guess you guys can tell who named that presentation. So we'll get started here. Just a brief look at our agenda. We are really taking a look at what's considered traditional media, right? So we want to give you the tools to be an informed buyer. This is almost a crash course in some agency quick tips to help you make the right decision for your business. We love all of our media partners and definitely make selections as an agency that is the best fit for our client at that time. And, you know, we really lean on our media partners as they are the experts in their field. And so we want to really just give you the formula for a good marketing mix. And I will tell you, every topic on this slide, on every slide, could be an entire presentation of its own. So we are really just going to be super high level, super informative from just kind of a generic level. We're really not going to share information about our local market here, but we're going to definitely give you guys some examples just so that you, again, can be that informed buyer. We're not here today to tell you who or what to choose, but to give you these resources to help you make your own decisions. And so to really kick us off, we think that a quick recap of our last presentation is necessary, because essentially this is the traditional media evaluation is your next steps. And so after you have created that marketing strategy, you have established your business presence. If you're a new business, you have defined and or even created a campaign strategy. This is a time when you start scheduling these appointments, and you definitely want to be a little bit informed as to what your salesperson is talking about, right? So we always want to strive for that marketing mix. And so we're going to kind of give you some tools today on each of the quote traditional media topics so that you can help make the best decision for your business. So let's start with some statistics. Now, you know, we will be showing a couple of slides of statistics, and there's definitely a lot of sources out there that are reliable and reputable. Nielsen is a very well-known statistical resource in the media world. There's also Comcast, there's CATS, there's RAB, which stands for Radio Advertising Bureau. There's TAB, which is the Texas Association of Broadcasting. And, you know, all these statistics are valuable information, and they're not incorrect. You know, some of them we'll actually see, some of them may conflict each other because data is pulled at different times of the year. It's pulled by different types of people. And so I'm not going to just overwhelm you guys with stats, but thought that some of it was really relevant to our conversation here. And this one's fun because it shows just some overviews of how many people listen to different types of audio, how many people watch different types of television and what types of devices, and how many people are on their social media via tablet versus their PC. And all of this is, you know, valuable information to have because it really determines the types of ads you build and the types of marketing you do. And, you know, some things that are surprising to people is, you know, just how wide the reach of radio is, really, as for an example. And in our broadcast TV, how many people are exposed to that on a daily basis. So these are really, all this information is at your fingertips. And so we just wanted to share some of those resources for you today so that you could seek some of the information out yourself as well. So we're going to get started with television. You know, television is definitely a high form of traditional media. And, you know, I was just supplied this information today from the Texas Association of Broadcasting and broadcast/cable, which we'll talk about the differences of that here in a second, has the highest reach of ad-supported platforms. You know, and this is a great slide because it kind of helps us really maybe give us a line of the types of advertising and the types of reach that it has through ad-supported platforms. And of course, this is according to Texas Association of Broadcasting, and they've cited their source down there at the bottom. So we'll kind of dive right in to what types of advertising can be done on TV. And so let's first define the terminology: local network, or also referred to as broadcast, versus cable. So our broadcast television are our regional media partners, the NBCs, the CBS, the ABC, the Fox, the Univision. All of these networks are essentially local, right? So, you know, here in our market, we've got different call signs that start with Ks, and really those designate the regions of it designates the area that those media companies are established. So kind of fun fact there that all broadcast call signs in the United States either begin with K or W, depending on who's west of the Mississippi, which is the Ks, and then the W's are east, which is a little backwards. But that helps to, you know, not have overlap when people are broadcasting different network stations. So with local network TV, they have a very strong local reach. You know, they're providing those community updates, and they're the local news source. Now, I say their local or surrounding area presence because that really depends on how big your market is. So in this particular market that we're headquartered in, we do have a local presence of most of the networks. And then some of them are essentially headquartered out of a surrounding city that's very close to us. And so these are reps that you'll meet in person. They're the ones that are stopping by to say hello. These are ones that might be affiliate, they're going to be referred to as that K 4-digit call sign. And so you might be confused, is this NBC or CBS, in which your sales rep can definitely help give you that type of information. Another advantage is, these local broadcast networks have that strong primetime programming, sports and Emmys and all different kinds of, television programming comes through these large major networks. Now, cable is also a way that advertising can be done on television, and cable TV does offer you a large selection of networks and demographics to choose from. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide, but cable is your provider of channels like the Weather Channel, Fox News, TBS, TNT, the History Channel. And, some of the advantages of that is that it can really give you targeted advertising. If I'm advertising a museum, then I maybe want to be on the History Channel because I know those viewers love history and might be interested in the attending my museum opening. Cable tends to have lower rates so that you can really increase your frequency with branding. But that does, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. That doesn't say that broadcast has high rates. They do have a very large reach, and so you kind of get what you pay for there. Some markets do have one provider of cable. Some have more than one. Now, in your large markets, cable is purchased in zones. And so you can either, if you live in a city like Miami, you can purchase the entire millions of people watching cable in Miami, or you can purchase different zones for a more affordable rate. And so all of this information your rep will have with them, definitely can ask questions. Now, another way that advertising can be done on television is through connected TV, which is essentially an internet TV. So connected TV is also referred to as OTT, and we'll dive more into that in our third presentation about digital marketing, but did want to mention it since it is a way to advertise on television here. And just to kind of continue on a little bit more about TV, there's different tools that you can ask your advertising rep for to help you make a decision on what you want to spend your television budget on, right? So as I mentioned earlier, some of those statistical providers like Nielsen and Katz and Comcast and, different TV stations and broadcasts subscribe to them. And so they can provide you with ratings, and ratings are pulled based on day part, which we'll define that word here in a minute. They can be pulled based on demographic, 18 plus. They can be, pulled based on male and female. And so they can be also pulled based on programming. And so that'll help you determine, what might be the best placement for your advertising. Tools that are available through cable providers are very fun to look at because cable providers have that, that cable box in your home, which is connected to your IP address, right? So that cable provider knows how many people are in your household, what you guys like to search for on the internet, how many channels you're watching, how long you're watching them. And so cable can also pull some great information even on your business field. And so always ask for these resources whenever you're meeting with your sales rep. Most of the time they're going to have that with them and they're going to go through and explain that information for you. Now, cable and broadcast are both purchased very similarly. And, with broadcast, we take a look at programming and we take a look at day parts. And so to talk about programming a little bit, you might want to have your ad run in the news or during American Idol or, wow, during the Super Bowl. Or you might want to maybe get your rate a little bit lower, because whenever you are program specific, that rate can be a little bit higher just because the demand to be during that show is higher, right? So we can also buy based on day part, which essentially is the time of the day. So my example, 6A to 7P, means that my ad is going to run sometime during that time frame. And because I didn't necessarily say it has to run at 6 p.m., then I'm going to have a little bit of a break on the rate there. Okay. And then just to round off the purchasing information about broadcasting is some verbiage is broad rotators, preempt, prime time. So a broad rotator is essentially a very large day part, like a 6A to 12A, to where my ad essentially is going to run sometime that day, but I chose that day part, that broad rotator, because I want more frequency, and that's the lowest rate I can get. Now, whenever you also get into lower rates for broadcast, they become preemptible, and which means that if somebody with a higher rate is running in that same time frame and they run out of room, because there's only so much room for commercials, then they're going to bump you out and they're going to go with that higher priced commercial. And so, you know, that sometimes happens. You're not charged for it. And this is always information that your rep will share with you. Now, cable is purchased a little bit differently. That's purchased usually by network and day part. And so I will choose, you know, I want to run on TBS, E Entertainment Network, the Weather Channel, and Fox News. And so, you know, I can choose my day parts 5P to midnight or 10A to 5P. And we'll see here, I'm going to give you a peek at some rate cards. You can kind of tell when that strong programming is, because the rate gets a little bit higher. But, you know, as an agency, we don't always purchase based on programming for cable, but you definitely can as well. And then these TV partners also offer some other fun sponsorships and packages. With broadcast, as I mentioned, it's local, right? So there can be a local weather sponsor or a pollen count or local news. You know, I know some of our media partners here do contests whenever it gets hot outside, and they give away an air conditioner. And so maybe you want to be a part of that contest and donate the prize, or maybe you just want to have your name tied to the contest. And so that's a way to advertise through the broadcast television. And then both broadcast and cable have fun packages. You know, I know every year, every broadcast television station runs a special annual savings deal, to where if you sign up for 12 months, they can give you a discounted rate, and that's special inventory they hold for that one-day sale. So you always want to kind of keep an eye out for that and take advantage of those deals. And then, of course, there's seasonal packages for NFL, NBA. You know, with cable, we've got Shark Week, which is a fun package to take advantage of. And then, of course, Christmas movies on Hallmark. Now, here's just some sample rate cards. And really, I don't want anybody to panic. This is a very large market in Florida. I think it is Miami, my example I used. But, you know, rate cards can be overwhelming. And so you really just wanted to show you guys this, because you really want to rely on your rep to help you understand. Again, you want to be that informed buyer, right? So here's my rate. And then this is a program specific rate card. And so I'm looking at programming. America's Got Talent on this particular network is the highest rated program. And so it's priced accordingly. If I want my ad to run during that program, then that's my price for one 30-second commercial, if you guys can believe that. And then this stuff right here can also be sometimes confusing and overwhelming. And this has to do with the ratings information in the CUME. And, you know, I'm not going to really focus on explaining this information, but your rep can definitely go into detail on that. Now here's a sample rate card based on day part for cable. And so here I am looking at my different network channels. So that's the American Movie Channel. We've got Comedy Central, Bravo, BET, and these are based on day parts. And so we can see, here's a fun example right here. ESPN from 5 p.m. to midnight goes pretty high, because that's when everybody's watching it. You know, you'll hear things like, we're in a political window. right? So what that means is that these rates are locked. I can't give you any discounts because there is political advertising going on. The media, television and radio, and is regulated by the FTC during political times, and they have to give, fair rates to the political candidates. And so that's why they kind of lock down the rates for other advertisers, because that factors into it. So just kind of wanted to mention that, because I know that I'm hearing that a lot right now as well. All right, so I'm going to just keep things moving along here and go into radio. Radio is the OG, right? Like, this radio is the original source of social media. Everybody huddled around the radio, listening to what's, coming up. And, radio connects people with their communities. It's also local, just like our broadcast TV, and it's live. Some fun statistics: radio reaches 249 million people a week. That's according to Nielsen ratings. That's 89% of Americans 12 and up, right? So according to this statistical information, which is RAB, the Radio Advertising Bureau, radio is the highest reach among media options, 18 to 49, right? So definitely, some different information than we saw on the slide before. Like I said, doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just depends on the people that are polled, the area. Maybe this is a little bit more of a defined demographic because it's 18 to 49. But really wanted to kind of mention this because as an agency, we hear, a lot of times, well, there's different ways to, what about Pandora? What about Spotify? And, just like television and radio, there are always going to be new ways to consume information, right? So radio went through records, 8-tracks, tapes, CDs, and now we're listening to music digitally, and radio still prevailed. And so definitely don't want to overlook this medium. For example, in our home market alone, there are over 25 radio stations, right? Some of the advantages about radio is that it gives you so many different types of audiences to reach. There's the people that like to listen to rock, to top 40. We never want to forget our bilingual audience in television or radio, because, this audience isn't tapped near as much as it should be. And we don't also want to assume that our bilingual stations have the same audience types. And again, this is information that your reps are going to be excited to give you. Bilingual music has different types of music as well, just like, music that's in English. And so we really want to make sure that we understand how we're buying radio so that we know that we're reaching that different demographic. It's very cost effective and gives you that frequency. So if you're trying to raise brand awareness, it is also purchased by station and day part. So you've already kind of learned what day parts are. And so radio's the same way. And cool thing about radio as well is that some of the radio groups have more than one station. So a lot of them will package up multiple stations and give you discounts. And of course, they're always willing to give you discounts on long-term agreements as well.
Okay, I'll jump into some outdoor advertising. I mean, kind of like Andy said, there's everybody who's selling something, that's the best thing that you can buy, right? And so you always want to keep that in the back of your head, and just know that you can ask for more information and get stats, and all that stuff is very useful and good and important to consider. I love the outdoor advertising element here because, your business signage on your building is so important for your brick and mortar if you've got one. It sets the stage for your business. Signs do more than just show where your front door is, and when people drive by, putting a pin on the map. Customers make assumptions according to the quality and attractiveness of their sign. So, it can carry over into how they perceive the quality of your brand or your product, your service, is how pretty that sign looks. It's such a cost-effective marketing tool. The longevity of your sign can almost outlast any other marketing piece that you may purchase. When you put a sign on your storefront, it's working for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, no holidays off. and essentially one-time investment. A lot of times you have to update, with especially our West Texas heat or sun, but that's okay. It's a big investment for your brick and mortar, and definitely works for you all the time. It can give you a competitive advantage. So when you're trying to figure out where to start, you may look at your competition first, but really you should look at your city and your location. Most sign needs are going to require a city permit. There's going to be rules and regulations in your area. You're going to have to find out, what you can and can't do. There's been so many times that we've had people come in and we've designed this beautiful, great sign, but it's not allowed in their area. You can't do neon, on certain places in the city. So you want to go ahead and find out all of that information first, and then go in and talk to your sign expert to get that going. Okay. So let's talk about billboards. There's two types of billboards typically. So you've got a static and a digital. Static means that it never changes. You print a vinyl, you get your art, you have it installed, and it's there. It's there as long as your contract is, until it's replaced. So static is very direct. It never changes. You're the only advertiser in that space. You typically want to put no more than 10 words on that static billboard. Too much information just gets lost. When someone's driving by the location, you want your message to come across clear and quick. And a lot of times when you do, a longer contract or an investment, you'll get a little lower price. So we typically recommend 3 months on a static billboard, because you've got to pay for your vinyl and your installation. That's a huge investment sometimes. And so, those vinyls will last at least a year. So if you're not looking to keep that billboard in the same spot for a year, that's okay. You can do 3 months, but at a year, you may get your vinyl for free and your install for free. Maybe even they give you an extra month for free. So there's lots of incentives to kind of look at a longer contract there. So let's talk about digital billboards. So this is kind of fairly new, and we wrapped it into our traditional media this time, just because it's pretty prominent in our area. There's lots of information on this. So, a digital billboard is something that changes. The ads will rotate constantly for a certain amount of time. Some billboards don't have a limit on how many advertisers they have. So, and then some of them do. Some billboards, digital billboards, will only allow 8 advertisers at one time. And then each advertiser gets essentially the same amount of time. And then other billboards will just allow, any and all ads to run, where there's just no limit on customers. So things to consider that make a difference in this are, city, state, county laws, timing on ads, the location, safety of consumers, length of ads. It really varies from city to city, place to place, location to location. In San Angelo, for example, so there's some boards that rotate ads every 6 seconds, some that rotate every 8 seconds, and why does any of that matter to you? So it's all about frequency. If a digital ad is running 6 seconds and there's more advertisers on that billboard, you essentially will get a little less time on the board if you think about it. So, 8-second ads, maybe you're up there just a little bit longer. So, it always depends on where and what and why you're doing what you're doing for that to make sense. So I've had lots of contracts on billboards for clients. And so it's not uncommon that you can even, buy 2 slots on digital board. So you can have 1 slot and it's running, 8 seconds. If you have 2 slots, then they'll rotate it and you're running, you typically don't do 16 seconds back to back, but you could have another ad running, 2 different ads at one time. We do it a lot for an event, a special event. So if we're blasting something right before the weekend happens, we will really buy 2 or 3 slots on one board to get that message out to everybody. And And so the way that some of these are priced too is your traffic count. That's really the key. The location is everything. How many people are going to drive by that billboard? You know, each person, each vendor will have that information for you too. We had a client ask just recently if they could have all of the digital ads on one billboard in one location. I think it was in Nashville. And so maybe she just didn't know how it worked. You know, you really just want those ads to rotate. You know, people will look at it. It's colorful, it's bright, it's got a different message, and it just keeps your eye, you know, drawn to it. And so it's okay that it has different ads running on there. You know, there is a way to get your own digital billboards. I mean, they have that. If you are on premise, you can purchase your own billboard. You can put your own stuff on there constantly. That's more of a state thing. But when you're buying advertising, that's the way that it works. Okay. So some business materials. You know, these are going to be things like your business cards and your brochures, newsletters, any kind of sales letter that you might have someone walk out the door with, thank you cards, menu signage. You know, paper goods elevate your brand. They leave behind valuable information to potential buyers, and communicate your products. So another key part to this is when you're getting some of this stuff together and designed, you know, go ahead and ask for that digital file as well. Your printer should be able to send that to you. You know, you've probably already proofed it and agreed it's good to go to print. So keep that file and, you know, post it on your webpage, use it in Facebook. There's lots of other, you know, things you can do. You can cut it up yourself and use it all different ways. So really kill two birds with one stone on that. You know, even signage within your building is something that almost everybody has to have in a brick and mortar. It could be, you know, instructions for employees or safety signs, directional signs, bathroom signs, state law notices in bathrooms, COVID floor stickers these days. People are customizing these and really bringing their brand throughout their whole building and business. And so that's definitely something we would recommend to do. Print. Okay, so we've got several different ways that print marketing is still relevant, still happening. It's the basic backbone of advertising. So if we look at newspaper, you know, newspaper actually increases circulation during the holidays. People are running ads. They're looking for, you know, Black Friday deals. And that is actually Black Friday is the #1 time when people pick up a newspaper. So the newspaper even gives us deals on, you've got Small Business Saturday that runs right after that. You've got, if you run 3 ads in the newspaper within 1 week, you almost get 2, let's say you buy 2 and you get 1 free. So it's a great deal. There's lots of incentives that the newspaper has. You know, even on a larger market scale, like the Wall Street Journal, you know, these are ways to get your stuff recognized, you know, by a larger national market. People here in San Angelo pick up the Wall Street Journal. They've got them here in San Angelo that come out weekly, you know, in New York. So that's something you could do too, depending on exactly, you know, what you're trying to market and put out there. Back to San Angelo, or not even just San Angelo, any place that has a military base, almost all of them have newspapers, and they're weekly, just like maybe small urban outside areas. You know, people will do classified ads. They'll advertise that they're hiring in all of these smaller markets. So, you know, if you're looking at a feeder town, you know, that's a great place to put in like a now hiring ad in the newspaper. People will drive in and come to work. So, you know, and a lot of these newspapers too will have a digital option. So they're taking your ad and they're putting it online. They're putting it on their own paper, newspaper online. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how news is consumed in our digital presentation next time. So I will skip on that. So gosh, in our area here, in Texas, looking at Texas, you know, there's a Texas Living magazine. This is something that is so nice and beautiful. It's printed twice a year. It's a subscription magazine as well, so you know who's getting it and where it's going to. And the advertising might be, you know, a little more picky. You can't just have any and every advertiser, they won't accept you. You've got to have a full page ad. It's got to fall within their stipulations and things like that. So some of these, you know, you have to be the right fit. Like our lifestyle magazine, you know, that I know we get that here locally. It's twice a year as well, but it's in all markets all over Texas, actually. So we've got some clients that have some Airbnbs. You know, they found that if they advertise in Midland Lifestyle Magazine, their Airbnbs here in San Angelo pick up and, you know, are noticed and are booked a little bit more during the summertime. You've got, you know, outer areas using this city for certain things. So you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit. It doesn't just have to be in your local area. Think about who comes into your city and how to reach them. You know, there's weekly publication or monthly publications that are like magazines. That's the family magazine here in town. You know, this might be directed toward moms or families. And then we have our agriculture and ranching magazines. You know, this is a huge, impactful magazine for our area here. So it really, really helps lots of our different clientele, heavy equipment and ranching and even the little stores that are outside of town. So we've got one client too that'll do in this specific Cattleman magazine, you know, that's all over Texas and Oklahoma. We advertise 6 months out of the year for one event. And so it is expensive, but it's very, very effective. We really like it. Direct mail. So direct mail is alive and well. Right now with people being home especially, they love getting mail. So we've been doing a ton of it for our clients. It really continues to be one of the best ways to get your marketing message in front of exactly who you want to get it in front of. It offers a great response. Direct mail boosts effectiveness of other marketing channels and offers lots of ways to personalize the piece to connect with possible prospects. You know, it's a tangible item. You can hold it in your hands. It builds trust for customers. You can use special coatings and papers and magnets and games. There's lots of interactive elements that grab attention. You can send a gift card. You can use a QR code to help track effectiveness. There's lots to direct mail. So, you know, when you're making up a piece, so let's talk about how it goes. You know, the first thing to figure out is your mailing list and who it's going to. Your postage tends to be the most expensive part of a direct mail piece. So if you figure typically you're going to send, so if you want a bulk rate, you're going to send 200 pieces at minimum. And so that cuts your postage in half almost. So you want to look at that. Who's your mailing list? Who's your audience? Then let's think about what type of mailer do you want to do? Do you want to do a little postcard, an oversized postcard, a brochure, a magnet, all kinds of different ideas there. And then you get your graphic designer to put all that together for you. Your print timeline, depending on what it can be, could, you know, affect of when this mail out actually goes out or hits the streets or gets in people's homes. And so, you know, typically when we do a mail out, let's just say it's a postcard, it takes us about 10 days once we get that art approved to get it here, get it printed, get it, get the labels, or the address printed on it, get it to the post office and get it out to people. So that's just kind of something to have an idea on.
Well, and Chris, before you move on, yeah. I put quantities on there because sometimes if you get, 2,000 versus 5,000, it's a cheaper rate.
That's true. Yeah. good point.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
surprised to learn that.
We'll do that. I mean, you definitely get discounts when you order more things. So we've done in the past where you can, you know, kind of give some space. If you get a mailing list of 5,000 people, and if you can imagine how much that, it's $10,000 to mail out 5,000 pieces to people. Well, how about we split that up? Let's go ahead and get our mailing list, and let's, you know, do 1,500 the first month, and then another 1,500 the next, and 1,500 the next. And so we can really kind of spread that budget out a little bit, so you're not just, you're still hitting everybody that you want to, just not all at one time. Promotional items. So these are really fun. Everybody loves a giveaway. You know, right now people are doing hand sanitizers, it seems like. So, you know, you want to pick out, of course, something that's based on your audience and who you're targeting. Again, these could have a longer turnaround time. So planning is very important. It's crazy how sometimes we'll end up, you know, someone has an event coming up and we will sometimes have to rush some of these or even rush shipping. We do this a lot for people, and it's almost just as much as the product itself. So would really, you know, try to plan, and it's so fun to find these things and put your logo on them. We've got, you know, example of a cup here, and these are hand sanitizers and our little toilet for a plumber, you know, stress reliever. It's so cute, and you can get really creative with it. It's fun to have, and people love them.
All right, so we are going on to the next topic, which is social media. And I know we said this is, you know, presentation is traditional media, right? Well, we now feel that social media is the new traditional media. You know, the dictionary's definition of social media is websites and applications that enable users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. And so social media is really an ever-changing landscape. The way that you advertise on social media changes all the time. The rules change all the time. And even the platforms definitely change on social media. And so whenever you look at advertising on social media, you definitely you know, want to do a little bit of research, right? So the first step, and this is also part of what we discussed when building your business presence, is selecting what platforms that are going to speak to your target audience, right? So we know that 67% of Americans on Instagram are between the ages of 18 to 29. Twitter, 44% of them in the US are 18 to 24. Right? So if I don't have the bandwidth to manage more than one social media account, then maybe I pick the one that's going to be the most effective to my audience. I don't need them all, right? You know, social media definitely takes up your time, and you want to make sure that you're managing the ones that you do have, that you are including fresh content, that, you know, there is a great scheduling feature on the social media platforms that you can schedule out content. So if you only have time once a week to jump on there or once a month, you can at least schedule a post a week. And so that you're still kind of engaging that audience on a regular basis. And you want to keep that content dynamic. You want to try to come up with, you know, different ideas that are business related and maybe even community related, right? So not only are you going to post about your product or service, but maybe there's some fun tips and tricks in your industry. Maybe an employee had a birthday and you want to recognize them on social media. You know, video is big right now, so maybe you want to go live with a fun demonstration. So there's always all kinds of fun things to do on social media, and there's tons of resources online. So if you're not comfortable, you know, Google some different courses that you can take. There are free courses on social media. There's definitely articles and content that you can read that help give you tips and tricks. And, you know, if you're having that writer's block, sometimes you can even get inspiration from some different captions from other people, right? And you always want to try to stay neutral and respectful. You know, you definitely don't want to get into debate on your business social media platform. And so we always recommend that our clients stay neutral on those hot topics. And I see we have a misspelling, but we do want to also cater the content to the platform you're on. So your social media engagement is going to be different on Facebook than it is on Instagram, for example. And so you really kind of want to think about the social media and what you're posting and how that's going to look on the different platforms. And you can always do all that yourself, or you can hire help. There's lots of independent contractors that do social media. Of course, there's advertising agencies, and those people can post for you, or you can do it yourself, or you can have a hybrid of both. Now, once you have that social media page established, you're posting regularly, you're adding your friends are adding friends. You can also do a couple of things within that to advertise. And you can do what's called boosting posts within certain social media platforms within your own page. You can put $10 to $20 on that and reach a broader audience. Or you can actually advertise within the platform. Now that has a little bit more cost associated with it. And we are definitely going to take a deeper dive on actually advertising within social media on our digital presentation. But we felt that it was really part of our traditional media, just at least to have a page and to maintain a page as a business owner. So the next thing that we feel is the new 2020 traditional media is reputation management. Online reputation management is the act of monitoring, influencing, growing, and managing what's been said about your business or a person in your business online. Consumers are now the ones who sculpt a company's reputation collectively by providing real-time feedback. And according to some research I found, this was on reviewtrackers.com, 94% of consumers say they have avoided a business after reading a negative review. So it's really important to understand that online reviews aren't just a way for consumers to express their opinions about a product or service. Reviews can influence a business's search ranking. They can be leveraged as marketing tools or, ways to improve your reputation and your revenue intake. And so you really always want to keep an eye on this, right? And even as a business owner, if you do reviews, you also want to do the good and the bad. A lot of times as people, we want to leave a review when we've had a bad experience, right? We're not always on there leaving reviews when our experience is positive. So it's really important to encourage people to leave great reviews and then do reviews yourself, right? Your business information, this first one, your business information should be consistent across all directory listings. Now, directory listings and reputation management kind of go hand in hand because essentially these are directories, platforms that some people are leaving reviews. And so first off, you want to make sure that all your business information is correct. And then you want to, monitor these reviews. Now, there are tools that you can purchase, tools like programs that will take all of the review platforms, the Google, the Facebook, the TripAdvisor, whatever, and it'll cycle those reviews into one program so that you can respond and monitor. Your media reps who sell digital will have reputation management platforms. Or, you can create accounts and, monitor these reviews yourself. But reviews shape your brand. They influence the sales and they make brands more trustworthy and credible. And they improve online visibility. They also boost your SEO rankings. So you want to be responsive to your reviews, the good and the bad. They can always help us and give us valuable information on how we can improve. And so really people just want gratification. They just want to be heard. And so a lot of times you can turn a bad review into a good review. And, even as consumers, we understand that businesses get bad reviews. It's all in how that business handles it. So if I read a bad review and I see a great response, a respectful response from the owner, then I'm, still not going to let that maybe sway my opinion of that business. And so I promise we're getting close to the end here. We've got a few more topics to cover, and these we kind of left the best for last. Chris and I love community. And of course, we're going to hit up events, and it's really important as a business owner or even as a good citizen to really stay connected and give back to your community.
Yeah, so, you know, there's lots of easy ways. I'm sure you've seen, you go to football games, you know, you see the ads in the football programs. Little towns and big towns have rodeos and ways to sponsor. You know, the cheerleaders come in, they sell their little cards, and real estate guides, chamber maps, directories, phone books, all of this stuff, you know, goes right back into your community. You know, it's full circle, serves employees that work here, and it promotes your business at the same time. There's lots of ways to show your support, and you get advertising in exchange.
So you may be wondering why we stuck phone books under community. We definitely did not want to disclude phone books. We understand that the way that we look up information is changing and evolving, but phone books are still used by those people that maybe aren't as confident with technology. And so, you know, you definitely still want to have your information listed in a phone book, because that person that's not comfortable still may be looking for your business. So yeah, we love to show our support and, you know, give back to community publications as well as take advantage of those audiences.
Events, they're so fun. You know, there's so many different avenues to go with events.
They can really help showcase your business or help you network with other businesses and people in your community.
You know, the chamber offers ribbon cuttings for new businesses. You should definitely take the chamber up on that. They'll have people show up and post it on their Facebook page, and it's great exposure. You know, throw a grand opening along with that. Keep up a customer appreciation, whether even that's, you know, an event or a thank you card, but, you know, charitable donation, silent auction. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, like donating those silent auction items for those nonprofit events.
Yes. Nonprofits in our city for sure always need these donations. And that's a way to get your business out there and even showcase some of your products to people who might not know about you at all. You know, sponsorships are big time. You know, you can put your name on a t-shirt for your kids' t-ball games.
Yeah.
And
well, and they also help fund the event, right?
Right.
A lot of times.
Absolutely.
I think too, and even attending these events, you know, you may not have the budget to sponsor a nonprofit event in your community, but going to that event, making professional and personal connections and relationships, always represent your brand and your image in those situations. Maybe wear a shirt with your logo, or as you're meeting new people, pass them a business card. Show them and the community that, hey, I'm here supporting this event. I'm here networking. I'm here making friends with my competitors. You know, it's really just important as a business owner to network. People love to buy from people they trust, right? And so we're going to kind of wrap up this presentation today with some unique, quote, traditional marketing, guerrilla marketing. And so guerrilla marketing is an advertising strategy in which a company uses surprise and or unconventional interactions in order to promote a product or service. Guerrilla marketing focuses on taking the consumer by surprise to make a big impression about this product or brand. Guerrilla marketing is so fun.
Yeah, we love to spitball ideas and think outside the box and try to come up with something just that wows everybody and has them take a second look. Here's some ideas of different things that you can do for guerrilla marketing. I love the flash mobs. I mean, I think that's so fun.
Yeah, I know. Hey, if anybody needs a flash mob, let us know. I mean, because we're ready. We're ready to do that. But, you know, these types of ideas can be very budget friendly and unique. They can be outside the box and highly effective. But we want to be very careful because sometimes they can be a little confusing. We found some fun examples here of some guerrilla marketing. You guys remember when IHOP changed their name to IHOB because they got burgers? You know, that took social media by storm. and really that's the intention, right? Here on the right side, King Kong 3D premiered. Mm-hmm. And so he went to the beach and created some King Kong tracks and some damaged vehicles. And so people were sharing that on social media. Looking at this National Geographic ad, it's a little fine print there, but it says, "This is what it takes to get this photo. Stand here with the camera for 3 years." So look at how close he would have been to that lion. So it really just kind of helps advertise your brand in an unexpected way. So we thank you all for attending our second session here, a dive into traditional media. We will be conducting a third session, which kind of wraps up the different media advertising options with what's called digital marketing. What is digital marketing really? How do we determine the best fit? We're going to be covering a lot of the terminology. How is digital marketing priced out? And in the digital world can be very confusing. And so our next session, we're going to help give you the tools for you to understand how to purchase and utilize digital marketing. And if you have any questions today after the presentation, you're more than welcome to email us. And Desiree, I don't know if we have time for any questions via chat. We're happy to stay over a little bit past the hour.
Yes, of course. Let's see. Currently, I don't have any questions. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature or put them in the chat if you'd like. Also, I have to mention we have been doing a lot of webinars. So that first link is a copy of our Essentials to Business Startup handouts. So I sent in a corrected link down below in the chat. So if you were directed to a Dropbox that didn't look like the PowerPoint, I apologize for that, but I did insert that corrected link down below. So sorry, thank you for my misstep. Any questions from anybody on the line? We had a lot of folks asking to pass it along, which is fantastic. I mentioned that we do have all of our classes available on demand for you to view after the fact. So this will be available and up tomorrow. And then we're looking forward to part 3, as Andy just mentioned. So any specific questions today? Not seeing any, but I will ask, I kind of like to wrap up each session with if there's one takeaway today, if there's something that people could implement, today, tomorrow, or within the week, what is something that you feel would be a primary goal for businesses based on today's information? Because a lot of this is time consuming and a lot of these are longer term marketing efforts, but what is maybe the first step forward if you say I want to tackle radio or video, or I'm looking to get a billboard?
The first step, and Desiree, you're so right. It is time consuming. But really the first step is going to be to carve out some of that time to have meetings with representatives. You want to advertise your business. You want to use those dollars in the most effective way. And the only way to know what's going to be best is to take some meetings and gather some information. And so that would be our recommendation, after you've set your budget, is to really kind of make that time to become an informed buyer.
Yeah, knowledge is power. It's exactly right. That's the first step, is to find out any and everything you can about what you're looking at.
Well, yeah, advertising is not always a tangible product. And so if we feel that it wasn't effective and we spent, a good part of our budget for a month, then that can, be a negative feeling and impact. So we just want to make sure everybody has the tools they need to help make the right decisions for their business.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. That was a very good answer. Yes, I agree. Knowledge is power. So don't be afraid to take those meetings because it's non-committal, but it gives you the opportunity to learn. So if anybody has any direct questions, please take down Andy and Chris's information. You can reach them at info@mediaadvantage.net. I'm also just going to follow up by saying thank you so much for joining us. Again, this presentation was brought to you at no cost. due to the funding of the CARES Act. And so we're very fortunate to have that to be able to continue to help small businesses. We look forward to seeing you at the next section. And as always, we have a survey that will pop up in your web browser. So if you don't mind taking a few minutes just to fill that out and let us know how we did and how we can improve. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you again so much, Andy and Chris, and we will chat with you again in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.